I want to talk about the Yankees doubleheader yesterday. I was very surprised with them sweeping it, just for the fact that I feel like most of the time when teams play doubleheaders, they're okay with the split. And I got to say, the Yankees really showed a day from a team that knows they can't afford to take a day off right now. They know they can't afford to rest. And with the Orioles going extra innings again yesterday, but still pulling out another win, the Yankees are very happy that they played very well because they have a half-game lead on the Orioles starting today, which is always a good thing because a half game still wins you the division. You don't got to win by 3-4 games. A half game does it for you. So, like I said, Yankees have a big day yesterday in their doubleheader against Toronto. A couple highlights real quick just to run through. Ichiro goes 7 of 8 in the doubleheader, including what turned into the game-winning RBI single in the 8th inning. That put the Yankees ahead 2-1. Fife throws in the chat room, "Let's go Braves." That's great. But either which way, ironically enough, not only did he go 7 of 8, he also stole 4 of New York's 7 stolen bases in the doubleheader. AKA, what an amazing all-day performance by Mr. Ichiro. On top of that, you have Rafael Soriano closed both games, earning his 41st and 42nd saves.
Pitched 2.1 innings. Pitched 2 1/3 innings. So
which
pretty good.
It's actually the first time in his career he's ever pitched closed 2 games in one day. Obviously, you don't get many opportunities to do that, but it was the first time that he's ever done that. On top of that, you also have Derek Jeter, who tied with Lou Gehrig yesterday for most 200 hit seasons for a New York Yankee with 8. And now he only trails the all-time record by 2 seasons. I think Pete Rose had 10. I think Pete Rose had 10 200 hit seasons. I think. I know he trailed the number's 10 for the magical, the record of most 200 hit seasons in a career. This was actually
Jeter's also the 3rd or 4th oldest behind Pete Rose. And 2 others as well.
To have a 200 hit season at his age?
To have a 200 hit season. Paul Molitor was the other one, I think. So it was Pete Rose and Paul Molitor were the, there might be a 3rd in there too, that had hits, 200 hits later in their career than Jeter did.
A little history there for you people. And last but not least, the one little thing I want to also throw out there was it was also the first time that these 2 teams, Toronto and the Yankees, played a doubleheader against each other since 1986. So, I thought that was a cool little random stat. But now, reaction-wise, Mike, I don't know if you had a chance to see it at all or what your feelings are with what you're seeing in the AL East playoff race, but based on yesterday and really, I got to say the past 2 days, because you got to also include the Orioles going, 18 innings yesterday or 2 days ago, and then they go, 11 innings last night. Like Eric pointed out to me on the ride down, they've played 3 games in 2 days, and the Yankees played 2 games in 1 day. You got the AL East race right now at just half a game. And Mike, we don't get to have you here on a regular basis to really talk with us about baseball and what you're thinking. So I'm curious to know what you think of the AL East playoff race. Who you like to come out of it when it comes down to the division winner, because I'm pretty sure both these teams are going to make the playoffs. It's just a question of who gets to play a series and who has to play one wild card game. So just curious to know, what's your point of view on what's going on in the AL East?
Well, I think the last time we talked about baseball, actually, I was saying I thought all 3 teams from the AL East were going to wind up being in, and Oakland is actually proving me wrong. I feel like they're playing very well. As far as the Yankees go, though, Pettit coming back is huge for them, and they do have Nova, too. Those 2 are keys for them. They're going to need them in the rotation. I'm sure you guys have talked about Sabathia not really being as good as he has been in years prior, and I'm sure he's going to wind up turning it on when October comes along, but having those 2 back in the rotation is huge for him. It is all about the lineup. I'm not as worried about the rotation as I am about their lineup, truthfully, just because they have so many injuries and they have so many players not really performing to expectations right now. Ichiro coming through yesterday was huge for him, and they're going to need more out of the bottom of the order from him. They are going to need Teixeira to come back in a big way if he's able to. I'm not really sure the timetable on him, truthfully. But right now, I do still believe they're going to wind up pulling out the division. I think the Orioles are going to wind up getting the first playoff spot, and it'll probably be them in Oakland in that opening day wild card matchup. You can't really say too much. I think the craziest part about the whole race, to me at least, is you have Miguel Cabrera going for the Triple Crown, basically, and Detroit. I mean, right now they're 2 games behind the White Sox, but they're going to have to turn on the gas in order to catch up to the White Sox. The White Sox have had a really good season, and they're still doing really good. So I think that, to me, is a little more surprising than the way the race has turned out. I think the Yankees are still going to make it. I think the Orioles are still going to wind up making it. Pettit coming back is huge for them, though.
See, yeah, I think when I look at this, I'm more shocked by anything than by the Orioles. I don't think anybody really came into this year expecting Baltimore to be where they're at right now. Eric raises his hand saying he did.
Once they got Showalter, he seems to turn ball clubs around. He was my biggest worry when he went to Baltimore. To be honest, I knew Boston was going to fall apart once Bobby Valentine went there because he's a head case. He's a mental patient.
See, I don't think it's fair to put Boston's problems on him, though. I mean, he came into a bad situation. He's outside the box, definitely unorthodox. You're also looking at a guy who's never going to say a bad thing about Bobby Valentine. So that's just a Met fan in me. Never going to say anything bad about him.
I'll say a lot of bad things about him. He's a head case.
See, I know where he's coming from, but me personally, from what I saw
they went
this
from
year,
a guy like Francona, who was laid back, a players type coach. Now listen, the players took advantage of that situation, drinking beer and eating chicken wings and doing all the crap they did in the locker room that I guess they weren't really supposed to be doing. That got Francona in trouble and ultimately fired. But I don't think they needed to go out. But see, this is where teams and management overreacts, and they go out and they say, oh, well, we had the players type coach and he wasn't working for us. Now we got to go out and we got to go get, a management type coach. We got to get a hard-nosed guy, And Bobby Valentine comes in, he puts curfews in, he acts like a jackass from the start. And I know you guys like him because he was with the Mets and he had his whole thing where he went into the locker room and came back out in a fake mustache or whatever.
No, I
tried to get back on the bench.
Was not a fan of that, truthfully.
But he just, to me, Bobby Valentine is just, I knew he was going to ruin the Red Sox. Where a guy like Showalter seems to come in and he turns places that have been problems, like the Diamondbacks, like Texas, or when he was down there, any team, the Yankees even. He was the one who really turned the Yankees around back in like 90, 94.
I was going to say, you're going back a while,
but he was the one. The Yankees were shit through the 80s. Sorry, excuse my language. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But yeah, they were terrible through the 80s, and it really got until like the early 90s when they brought in Showalter. And Showalter started with the farm system. He started with the younger guys, and he was the one who brought Jeter up originally in the end of '95. It was Showalter who turned the Yankees around, believe it or not. And then Torrey came in and did what Torrey did, but it was really Showalter. So I'm not surprised in what he did in Baltimore.
Well,